So I like to join me then.
Should we? అవకాశం more. Attendance बोलो. Oh, you changed. Okay, well, good evening, everyone here and also online, and welcome, Devarshi ji. Today is one of the special days. We have been having Jayaji with us regularly, so we thought, why not? Devarshi ji is very much part of Pune, and then we were just talking, and then this thought came. I think we will do this very frequently. So, welcome, Nayaswami Devarshi ji, and thank you for spending this evening with us. Nayaswami
Thank you, Amit. Thank you for the invitation, and a joy to be with my Guru Bhais there in Pune, one of my many homes in India. So we'll begin with a prayer, and then you'll do a chant from there, and then some meditation. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, beloved friend and guide Swami Kriyananda Ji, we humbly bow to you all. Guide our lives, awaken within our hearts the burning desire to know you, to love you, in activity, in meditation, in all of our relationships, in everything we do. Free us from all attachment, all delusion, all littleness. Lift us up in thy grace. Bring us home. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, and we'll have a chant.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tvam Namami. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. and I never apart. Wave of the sea dissolving the sea. Wave of the sea dissolving the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. So do thou, my Lord. So do thou, my Lord. Thou and I never apart. Thou and I never apart. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. So do thou, my Lord. So do thou, my Lord. Thou and I never apart. Thou and I never apart. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. Oh, wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. So do thou, my Lord. So do thou, my Lord. Thou and I never apart. Thou and I never apart. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolving the sea. Oh, I am the marble, make me the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea. I am the marble, make me the sea.
Let's take that chant into our meditation. And let's feel that we are meditating in God, in the Guru, that we are not separate, that we are in them, in Divine Mother. God is in us, and we are meditating as one already. And let's meditate like that for about 10 minutes. Om Shanti Shanti. We'll have this reading now from Affirmations for Self-Healing by Swami Kriyanandaji. This week, the topic is courage. And Swamiji writes, there are three kinds of human courage: blind, passive, and dynamic. Blind courage doesn't count the cost until it finds itself faced, horror-stricken with the bell. Passive courage is the strength of will to adjust to reality, whatever it may be. And dynamic courage is the strength of will not only to accept reality, but to confront it with another reality of one's own making. There is a fourth kind of courage, not human, but divine. Divine courage comes from living in the awareness of God's presence within and in the realization that He is the sole reality. Live more in Him, for nothing and no one can touch what you really are. And let's repeat this affirmation that Swamiji gives us, first very loudly and then more and more quietly. So repeat after me. I live protected by God's infinite light. So long as I remain in the heart of it, nothing and no one can harm me. I live protected by God's infinite light. So long as I remain in the heart of it, nothing and no one can harm me. And a little more quietly, I live protected by God's infinite light. So long as I remain in the heart of it, nothing and no one can harm me. And now whispering, I live protected by God's infinite light. So long as I remain in the heart of it, nothing and no one can harm me. And now mentally only offering it up to the superconscious at the spiritual eye. I live protected by God's infinite light. So long as I remain in the heart of it, nothing and no one can harm me. Om. And let's listen to this prayer that Swamiji gives. I look to Thee for my strength, Lord. Hold me closely in Thy arms of love. Then whatever happens in my life, I shall accept with joy. Okay, and now we'll have a reading.
All set?
Yep, start over again.
Yes, I will. This week's reading from the book Rays of the One Light by Swami Kriyananda is Perfection is Self-Transcendence. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. We begin this week with a passage from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 5. Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. If ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the tax collectors the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even pagans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven perfect. This teaching is a continuation of last week's lesson. To love all equally is possible only by seeing God everywhere, in others as well as in oneself. See whatever comes to you unasked for as a manifestation of His will. Be grateful for the pains you experience, for they are healing strokes of His love. Sometimes healing is effected only by strong measures, but His love for you is manifested in the very attempt to heal. Strive always to be impersonal, as though whatever happens to you were happening to someone else. Persecution gives us the supreme opportunity to deny the thought, this is happening to me, and to affirm our inner freedom from the thought of ego. Don't allow the negative perceptions of others to become your own self definition. Seek God. This is the true goal of life. Though how difficult to cling to in the midst of hatred, spite, and persecution. The Bhagavad Gita tells us in the 7th chapter, out of thousands, one strives for spiritual attainment, and out of many blessed truth seekers who strive assiduously to reach me, one, perhaps, perceives me as I am. O truth seeker, be one among all those thousands who seeks the supreme goal. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om.
Thank you, Anandita. And the topic of that reading in this week is Perfection is Self-Transcendence. And Swamiji writes and talks and spent his whole life really talking about how we really cannot do this perfection ourselves by becoming humanly perfect. We have to put out a lot of energy, we have to try, but we have to learn to transcend this little self and the bubble becoming the sea. And, Master said, he defined self-realization. He said, self-realization is the knowing in all parts of body, mind, and soul that I am now in possession of the kingdom of God. I need not pray that it come to me, for God's omnipresence is my omnipresence, and all I need is to improve my knowing. And so the meditation after that chant is something that Swamiji would recommend, where we don't meditate on God or pray to God. We do to start a meditation. But he said, really, in the deepest sense, we should learn and can make it a practice to meditate in God and to pray in God. And experiment with that when we meditate. Don't see separation between us and God and us and the Guru. One time I was with Swamiji driving in heavy traffic in Gurgaon, and this was like 2006 or something like that. And I asked him, it was a question I'd wanted to ask him for a long time, and it was an opportunity. And I said that my understanding of devotion to the Guru is that by devotion to the Guru, we open our hearts, and the Guru can enter our hearts, and his love and blessings can enter. But I always felt there was something more, and I really wanted to know, am I on the right track? And he said, yes, you're on the right track, essentially. But he said, don't feel there's a separation there. Don't feel that the guru is out there and you're over here. I am the bubble, make me the sea. And that's where we start. But even in meditation, he said, feel that you and the guru, your auras are merged and are already one, and that you're communing in the guru, really is what essentially he was saying, that the guru is in us and God and Divine Mother in the same way. And this is how we transcend the little self. We really are lifted up in that grace, because that's really what we're doing, isn't it? When we are meditating in Guru, when we feel ourselves in Guru, in Divine Mother, in God, we're really in grace. We're in their grace. And we're changed by that grace. We have to make the effort. It's not easy. And it's not just a thought, okay, I'm in God, I'm in the Guru. We can't just think our way there really easily, as we know, or we'd be liberated right now. So the whole of the spiritual path is how to do that. And it takes commitment. It takes effort. Out of thousands, one strives, and out of 1,000, one perhaps experiences me and really merges into me. Now, lest we get discouraged, Master said that our percentages are much higher on this path, but it's because we've been given the tools to be able to do this. And it's up to us then to actually practice the tools. Now, it takes effort. It takes standing alone. And, my story is a little unusual, but it doesn't apply to everybody. But on some level, I think it must. It has to, on some level. But when I was in high school and I learned about gurus for the first time, I'd never heard the term in high school. That was an era when there was no internet, and these terms and the ideas were not widespread at all. You might go to the library and find a book, but people were not talking about it. But I learned about gurus, I learned about saints, I learned about God being the experience of divine bliss. And I had an experience of that grace that touched me. It was samskaras from the past. And at that moment, I made a sacred vow, but it was almost like a voice speaking through me, that I would spend the rest of my life as a yogi seeking God. And it was a determination. It was not just a thought that was quietly, murmuring in my head. It was like power and determination. I had never met a yogi at that point in my life. I didn't know how you became a yogi seeking God. It wasn't on my career choices that I was coming out of high school. But that's what it takes. Swamiji, when he talks about this reading at further length, he says Sri Krishna in this passage of the Gita is trying to help people to break the hypnosis of mass opinion. One who would live truly in God must be willing to stand alone, to be mocked by uncomprehending family members, to be persecuted by those who are, in fact, still children in their own spiritual understanding. And so, on some way, we have to put out that kind of energy. Now, what does that mean for all of us? We have to start where we are. I was starting at a point where I had no commitments. My future was a complete open avenue. I could do anything I wanted to. I didn't have a family. I see people here with children, and what do? You're raising children, or you have a dharma of marriage, of career. Well, you start where you are, and you have to put out energy, and we have to put out energy. And I'm not saying, pointing my finger at others and saying you're not doing it. It's all of us are always, every day, having to start making choices, because the spiritual path, it's a constant renewal of this commitment and trying new things and new approaches in new ways. Otherwise, we just get in a rut and it becomes just a routine that we do, or a ritual. And even for those of us who have been doing it for decades, like myself, I mean, next year it will be 50 years since I've been doing Kriya Yoga, and we still are always looking at it in different ways, trying new things, really always trying to push forward. Sri Yukteswarji, Master quotes him in Autobiography of a Yogi, and Master said it's the most important passage, actually, in the whole Autobiography of a Yogi, where Sri Yukteswarji says, "Forget the past. The vanished lives of all men are dark with many shames. Human conduct is ever unreliable until anchored in the divine. Everything in future will improve if you are making a spiritual effort now." And so what we are doing is making a spiritual effort now. And that's all the time. Now, what does that mean? Am I not making a spiritual effort, or, not enough? Well, it's just always putting out energy in some way. The name of the path that's been given to us, it's Kriya Yoga, and it describes the technique. But Kriya, the word, Sanskrit origin word, means action. And particularly, it means a pure action, an action offered to God, but with the emphasis on action. We don't think our way out. And so when we hear wisdom, from a satsang or from our teachings, from hearing a talk by Swami Kriyananda, the point is to act on it and to put it into practice in some very real way. And it's not because it's our effort that takes us there, but what happens is that our effort at concentration in meditation, at devotional offering intensely during Kriya practice itself, during meditation, that it starts to put us in the realm where we can really be in divine grace. Because divine grace is not down here when our consciousness is down lower in the lower realms of consciousness, which it often is with all the influences in the world, desire and attachment, they do come. But divine grace and the Guru is higher, in a higher realm. And so our part is to go where they are, which is the practice of Kriya Yoga, practice of concentrating at the spiritual eye, the practice of offering our heart's love to God upwards during the Kriya technique and during all of our practices. And so success comes by doing that over and over and over again. And I've seen this in my own life, and Swamiji has talked about it. We've seen it in his life, a disciple of his. And I think many of us have heard this story, but then I'm going to apply it to an experience in my own life and to everything that all of us are going through, where he was a mountain climber who had done many first ascents in Europe. So he was a really skilled mountain climber. And he was looking at a mountain that he had climbed with different routes to go up. And he saw a new route that he had never taken, that no one had ever taken. And he decided he was going to climb that new route. He was by himself. And he didn't have ropes or anything. He was climbing by hand up rock. And he made it nearly all the way there. But he came to a point where there was an overhang that he had to climb up in order to get past. And there was no other way to get up there. And he couldn't go down because without ropes and such, you can't climb down easily on a mountain like that at all. And it was impossible. It really was an impossible situation because he would be upside down and he would fall back onto this ledge that he was on. And he realized that he could die or he could die trying. So that's what he did. He climbed up the wall and it went back, and then his weight would make him fall down back to the ledge. And he would try it again, and he was bruised and probably bleeding. He kept doing it, but he wasn't going to give up. And finally, after about 25 times, Swamiji says, he was climbing up the same thing, same effort. And he said it was like a hand, a divine hand, pushed him up and held him up. And he was able miraculously to get over that overhang and then just easily climb up the rest of the way to the mountaintop and then descend on a trail down the other side. And that's what the spiritual path is like. That's what some projects that are given to us are like. Recently, I heard some Swamiji say it was both, I guess, discouraging and encouraging in a certain way. He said that Divine Mother makes it nearly impossible with certain projects or with finding God, nearly impossible, like so close to impossible. But she gives no choice but to keep trying and to keep going, because what else are we to do? We can't turn around. And I'll talk more about this, but that's what we face very often. I think all of us with our karmas, with the challenges. I like a way that Brahmachari Vasudeva told it to me recently. He said that when we come onto the spiritual path, Divine Mother exaggerates the inspiration and downplays the tests and challenges that are to come. And I think it's really, really true that when we get on the path, it's like, oh my God, this is great. This is so easy. I can find God now. And it's exaggerated a little bit, but then she got us in the door, is what she did. And then all of a sudden tests and challenges come. And I think for a lot of us, we realize that it's difficult. And we think about turning around, and maybe we hear a click and we turn around and the door has locked closed and there's no turning around. And we know that there's no turning back. We've done that many lifetimes and we won't be happy giving up on the spiritual path. And so we keep putting out the effort over and over and over again, like that disciple. In a way, every meditation is that. We haven't yet found God and merged completely, and yet we keep trying. We sit down morning and evening and we try again, and we do it with the expectation that we'll succeed. And what happens is that after some time, we realize that we're changing, we're growing. And it can take days, it can take weeks, it can take many years, depending on how much karma we have to overcome. But there's no turning around once you really have made that determination to find God. But once you have that determination, you will find God with the Guru's help. Now, I've seen it with personal challenges too. And I'll share one story. I don't get into it in this depth in the Kriya Yoga book that I wrote, but the story is in there. But, around in 2010, my wife passed away, and Swamiji said it would be good for me to move to India and help serve there. But I was dealing with a physical health challenge that was just extremely debilitating. And it just would not have been possible. It was that severe. And as it turns out, it would not have been. It wouldn't have been useful. I would have had to have returned, really. And so I kept serving in the US. I kept putting out energy to overcome this thing. And I never stopped. And in the middle of that process, Swamiji left the body, but I never gave up on what he asked me to do and what he suggested. But I never gave up on overcoming this condition that doctors finally told me was going to be with me for the rest of my life. But I was determined that I was going to keep trying to find a way to overcome it. I tried all these different things. I put out energy. I put out a lot of prayer, devotion, surrender to God, to Guru, to Divine Mother. And I kept working at it. And eventually, and fairly quickly at a certain point, this condition, it didn't completely disappear, but it went away enough where I was able to move to India. And eventually it has gone away. And the doctors were wrong. The divine doctor was right. And that's when I moved to India. It was 2015. And I moved into a house in Gurgaon with Amit right there and with Devendra. And how did that work? So, yeah, it was karma that I had to work through. But what happened really, I from my own understanding of experiencing it and tuning into it, is that by putting out energy, trying different approaches, trying different doctors, supplements, different things that I was reading about, it wasn't those things that solved it. It was putting out the energy again and again and again. And that energy creates a magnetism. It creates the magnetism that draws God's grace. It is magnetism that draws divine grace to liberate us. Master in Autobiography of a Yogi says it's the divine magnetic ardor or devotion of the devotee that draws the grace of the Guru and God to liberate us and to free us. It's magnetism in the end. And putting out that energy, put out the magnetism, created the magnetism to finally attract divine grace to cure me. And it was the divine grace that healed me in that. I have no doubt about that because there was no other explanation for it. And so it's the same with the karmas that we're working out, is by putting out effort, intense effort with God. And it doesn't work just to accept, okay, this is my fate to have this condition and I just have to accept it and deal with it. That will be your fate then, if we have that attitude. It will be our fate to always be in delusion and not to find God. And so the thing is just to keep trying. Swamiji says that there's a whole universe trying to help us with this, believe it or not. He also said there's a whole universe trying to stop us. But which are we going to tune into? He said that if you have a pure heart and wanting to give yourself to God, not just asking from God, but wanting to give yourself purely in devotion and love to God, in service, in the way that you raise your family, in the way that you treat people, the way that you do things. He said, when you're pure-hearted, he said, even angels take part in our lives more than people realize. And who knows, maybe it was an angel that held that man up against that mountain. And I think we've all seen that astral beings who are our gurubhais are astral beings, many of them are now, that they also, Master said that great souls that have ascended to the astral world enjoy helping people down here. And I think that's maybe is what angels are, but our gurubhais are those angels, people that we have known who have gone up to that other side and really can help us from there. And of course, I think we've all experienced angels here on earth helping us. I'll share more after the satsang a little bit about what's going on up here with our monastery and things. But as I think most of you know, we're building a monastery. And it was one of these impossible things with the financially and every way, with government permissions, all these things. But we just kept putting out energy, and angels came, human angels coming to help us in miraculous ways, who knew exactly how to deal with something that we were so naive in that way. And so this is what it takes. I'll share a couple more stories about this brother disciple of Master, the Swamiji's. He wasn't a direct disciple of Master. He came soon after Master left the body. But his life is really interesting because it shows this whole idea of living in grace and giving yourself to God and to serving others and not thinking about yourself. And by doing that, being lifted up in God's grace and freed. One thing about him was that he was in Europe. He was part of a royal family in Yugoslavia, or a province of that country. And the Nazis didn't like him, and others like him. He fought with the resistance against the Nazis, and he got captured by the Nazis. And he actually was in 3 different concentration camps, including one of the most notorious ones. And he said that was one of the most joyful parts of his life, because there was such a sense of giving and camaraderie, and the others in those camps saw him as a saint even then, because he was just giving and serving. He was completely selfless. And he sacrificed his life, or offered his life, in exchange for another man who was going to be shot by the Nazis. And they let that guy go, and they let him go because they saw that spirit. But a funny story of his, and 2 funny stories, just because I just want to tell these funny stories, but also just showing the faith that it takes, is that with one of them, he was actually assigned to be executed by the firing squad, and he was waiting for his turn to go out and be executed and shot by these people. And it was pouring rain, and he was sitting on the porch under this roof. And the shooting was happening out in the pouring rain, and the officer said, "Okay, your turn to go out." And he looked at the officer and he said, "You know, you can kill me, you can shoot me, but you're not going to make me go out in that rain right now." And there was such a sense of inner freedom in him that and joy. And that inner freedom is really central to all of this. If we're inwardly free, and when we are in God, we are free. And I've seen this. I see this recently more and more. If I'm feeling stress about what the work I'm doing or the way the world is going, that if I just turn my thought to chanting to God and to the gurus, instantly I'm in the light, and that stress goes completely away. And so live in that freedom. And finally, another humorous story is that when he was like 3 years old, he had an experience of past lives. And he went to his mother and he said to his mother, "You aren't my only mother. I've had other mothers." And he was so insistent on it, and he told her about it, that she took him to a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist interviewed him for an hour. The mom wasn't there. And the psychiatrist came out after an hour and he looked at the mother and he said, "You know, I believe him." That was the end of his mom trying to have him analyzed by a psychiatrist. But this is the attitude it takes to find God, to overcome our delusions, our limitations. Swamiji talked once about a test that he just couldn't overcome. And he knew that at that time he couldn't overcome it. But he said in the meantime, he was working with devotion, chanting, with seva to the guru. And he said eventually the karmic scales balanced and it reached a tipping point and he became free of that delusion. And, in a way you could say that the scales of grace also changed and he became free. And so with our lives, find ways to actually act on this. It's just not enough just to have some gyan and then, okay, oh, that was really nice, and go home and come back next week for more gyan, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but act on it. Kriya Yoga, it means action. And those of us who have been doing this, that's what it takes, is to always be acting in some way and working on ourselves, on applying these teachings in life, and doing what the guru gives to us, whether it's a health challenge or raising a family or building a monastery, of just putting ourselves wholeheartedly into it and finding ways to overcome limitation. And again, remembering that, as Swamiji says, Divine Mother makes it seem nearly impossible, but it's humanly impossible. But with God's grace, with offering ourselves into that light, into that grace, that's the only way that it becomes possible, because we're not going to do it with just our human love. That's how we forgive those who hate us. It's not with human love, it's with divine love. Now, finally, Swamiji, in this, talking about this reading, he said that in order to transcend and in order to love people that way with divine love, we have to have an experience of God's love. And that experience comes from daily meditation. And it's not necessarily just having the whole grand, full samadhi experience, but it's from like touching the hem of that garment of divine love. We start to taste it. We start to experience it. We start to feel it. We start to know what it is. We start to get glimmers of it. And day by day, step by step, year by year, applying these things, offering ourselves up into divine grace with each meditation, with each act that we do in our daily lives, with faith and with trust in the Guru that he knows the situation he's put us into, and he will lift us up. And I've seen this in my life and so many others, that he lifts us up when we act in these ways. And it's really the only way that we become free, is by acting in this way and by putting out this kind of energy and acting on things that come up in these satsangs and in our teachings, and that we learn from the books and the readings and the videos and all these things. Act on it and do it with God. Do it in God with grace, and you'll find that that freedom comes more and more in our hearts. And it does become easier. It can take time before it seems easier, but it does. As Yogananda said, efforts end in ease. And I've seen this. I'll testify to it. I've seen it in my life and in the lives of many, many others. So let's keep working on it. Let's keep helping each other work on it. And let's find God together in this lifetime with the grace of the Guru and the Guru's help. So I guess we end now with an arati. Is that right, what we do? Yep. So there'll be a short chant while we offer a candle to our masters. This altar behind me is at the Ananda Meditation Retreat, where people have been meditating. I'm actually in Panchkula Chandigarh, but this virtual altar is there. And so let's offer this light to the Gurus as we chant. And I guess you'll come up and receive this light from the blessed light, and we'll keep chanting again as we do this.
Guide to inner freedom, still
And let's close by sending the blessings of Divine Mother and God to all the world, chanting Om 3 times. Om. 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 And let's close with a prayer. Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Devarshi ji.
Thank you all. What a joy to see the pure-hearted angels of Ananda Pune. And just there really is a certain quality there that I really appreciate. And we're in these different parts of India, and each place has just a different energy. I mean, you're up here in the Punjab area that has a very different energy, and it's all, it's like we all need all of it. We need this pure-hearted devotion. We need energy and dynamic willpower and creativity, and it's just this is the spiritual path that Swamiji gave us. We have to be all-rounders, I think is what they say in cricket, where we do it all. So yeah, a joy to be with all of you here today and to see many dear friends from when I lived there in Pune and just have visited there over the years. Amit suggested I could talk a little bit about what is happening up here. And
Yes, please. Yeah.
And we're building a monastery here. Let me turn on a light here. The sun has been my light so far. And we're building a monastery for our monks. And we've been doing this, we've been at it for about 5 years. And we are looking to move in finally in September. It's a huge project. It's like a mini housing society, because we've had to build all the infrastructure, water, electricity. We've had to do it legally with government, and so it's proper buildings. And we've had to raise the funds to get the land originally and drill a well and just do everything from scratch and do it in a way that's going to last for many decades, because we've built monasteries at Ananda with temporary buildings that ended up being temporary monks and temporary monasteries. And I won't talk too much about it. I shot a video 2 weeks ago, and it's for the centennial celebration, and it's being edited right now in the US by Bhaktan, who works with videos. It's all about a new kind of monastery that Swamiji wanted to title. The title is A New Kind of Monastery. And Bhaktan is putting a lot of photos of what we're building, of what our monks are doing with their outreach, because we're not running away to do this. We're actually building a support for our monks to have an inspired life and to go out and give. And it's not going to be a place where people come and visit. And this is all explained in this video. This is what Swamiji wanted. We're following his will with all this stuff. But I would highly recommend that video. I'll share it with our center leaders when it's released, because anyone who's interested in knowing about what we're doing and why, you'll see this. I think this is the best explanation of it that we've ever had. And so we're hoping to move in September, and we're hoping to have a blessing with Jyotishji Deviji in September too. And the Swamiji wanted monks living in kutirs, separate little cottages, and many things. He was very specific about it, and we're following what he wanted, including that it's a hermitage monastery that doesn't take visitors. Yet when people want to see the monks, they go to our centers where we lead retreats and we travel a lot. And so this is all explained in that video. And we're also starting to do more up in this whole greater Punjab area. We did this last year, a few months ago, actually only, we did a workshop, or 2 weekends, or 2 workshops at a college in Patiala, where Swamiji spoke in 1960 to really large audiences of students. They were extremely interested. So we did some workshops there with the students, one with the faculty only, 100 faculty members. We taught some meditation and talked about spiritual living. And we're now planning another event, but a much bigger event, at a college called Lovely Professional College near Jalandhar, which has well over 30,000 students there from all over India, from all over the world. Very forward-looking energy there, surprisingly so. And we're working with Harpriya and Dharminder, who are the Ludhiana Center leaders and longtime Kriya Yogis, to do this program probably in August. And so we're doing a lot of traveling, right? In this month alone, every weekend some of our monks have gone out to lead retreats to help with programs. Right now, 2 of our monks have been in Pune at Wittenday the last few days, helping with a Kriya retreat there for the home study students. And Rajas and Ramesh, you may have seen them around or passing through. And so this is what we are doing here. It's just, again, it's hard to explain because it's so different than any models that people have. And I started out this video by sharing something that Swamiji said. He said that he wanted to see Ananda as part of his spiritual legacy, always doing new things in new ways. And this is what his life was. And it doesn't mean doing crazy things and just always doing something different, but it means applying these teachings creatively, energetically, and doing it in tune with our gurus and with Swamiji's wishes, and ignoring what the world says. Oh, it should be like this because this is how it's always been, and this and that. And so that's what we're doing up here. And, Amit, Anandita, if you have any more questions, or if any of you have any questions, I'm actually happy to answer anything that you might have. So.
Thank you, Devarshi. And so how many of you would be moving there? And
there'll be 6 of us. Yeah, there'll be 6 of us moving there. And that's about how many coutiers we'll have ready by then, actually. And then in the next phase, in another maybe a year, we'll start working with more coutiers. So. And Kiran has raised a hand to ask a question. Is that right? Does someone have to unmute Kiran?
Kiran, you can ask your question. Try unmuting yourself.
Yeah, now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Swami. It was wonderful satsang today. So my question, and thank you for sharing the good news. So my only question to you is, when we want to reach out to many people who are interested, right? And the language becomes a barrier. For an example, not an average Indian understands English, right? And what are your plans to have these kinds of sessions in Hindi, or like you were talking about in doing it in Chandigarh and Ludhiana? I hail from Patiala, right? And there most of the community speaks Punjabi or they understand Hindi, right? So I think language should not be the barrier, and this is such a powerful thing that we are learning. So what are your plans? So sorry if this is not a relevant question, so just out of curiosity.
It is. So it's even beyond just plans, but things that we've already are practicing. Mm-hmm. We have this whole Hindi language Sangha that teaches all classes in Hindi. We have translations happening more and more, even online. When Jyotish and G. Devi Ji give a satsang pan-India once a month, it's translated real time in Hindi and maybe even in Tamil. And Marathi is coming up. The books are being translated. But in Patiala, some of our speakers, Harpriya, Dharminder, they spoke in Punjabi and Hindi combined. They speak both, as you pointed out. And those of us who spoke in English, it was translated into Punjabi, Hindi combination. So that's happening. It's just, yeah, we do, you're right. We do need to speak in the language that people are the most comfortable with. And that's happening more and more over time. And it's happening partly because we're having more teachers who are coming up who speak those languages, different languages, whether it's Marathi or Hindi or Tamil or all these other languages. So that is happening. It's taken time because, it's not enough to know the language. You also have to have the depth of attunement to our teachings and the practice, and to be an acharya in that way, and to be able to teach. So it is happening more and more. And it is a good question. It's really relevant question. So yes.
Thank you so
More
much.
the better.
Very happy to hear this, and looking forward to having this in
Yeah.
multilingual sessions. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And I know in Ludhiana they teach in Punjabi Hindi combination. That's pretty much what they teach, with some
Okay,
English
then
thrown in.
I'll try to get the details more so that I can, let people know where to go and meet them and attend the sessions in Punjabi.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's Ananda Ludhiana. Yep.
Okay.
And it was a joy being in Patiala, knowing that Swamiji had spoken there. We spoke at that same college that he spoke at.
Okay.
And yeah, it was, in a way, it was honoring him on his 100th centennial of his birth 100 years ago. That was a joy. So. Okay, any other questions, comments?
So, one thing, Devarshiji, again, thank you for sharing the details about the monastery. If somebody was just to, how can one support or help in any of this project that you mentioned in an inspired way, or would you share something about it? Maybe not necessarily joining the monastery itself, but even in general also.
So yeah, keeping this in your prayers is really helpful. We also just need financial support to build such a huge project. We started with nothing, literally. When we came out here, we literally didn't have a rupee to even buy land. And when we found the right land, just in the spirit of Swami Kriyananda, the land was outrageously expensive, but it was the right land. And Amit was there, actually. He was living with me, staying with me in Chandigarh as we were researching this. And, I came out one morning, I said, a few days after we found this right, perfect land, I said, someone has offered to buy it. It was an incredible amount, actually, but it was God's grace. But we need more. So you can support also through donations. And Amit could help you with that, just how to do that. You can also go to a website, which maybe someone can type in. It's gurukripaforesthermitage.org. And there's ways you can find out about how to give and how to donate. And maybe I'll type it in there. And that also explains the whole building process. We have updates, we have a newsletter, you can see the latest photos. Fruit trees, gardens are going up. We've planted over 150 fruit trees and a few hundred other trees and a lot of shrubs. And it's just, because it was just bare farmland, except for 2 sacred trees, a really large peepal tree and a jamun tree. And so it's a beautiful property with beautiful neighbors and in a really beautiful area. You'll see the photos there also.
Thank you, Devarshiji. And we certainly look forward to that video whenever it will come out.
Yes. So I'll share it with the Central Leaders on the Central Leaders WhatsApp group and really ask them to share it with others. It's only 15 minutes long, no more than that. And it includes a lot of direct quotes from Swamiji explaining really what he wanted and how to do it. And that's where grace comes. I think that's a big part of the grace that's come, is that he understood that Ananda was not ready to do this kind of monastery, but he said he wanted Ananda to do this when the timing is right. And the timing was finally right. But because we've really adhered to putting into action what he wanted, I think it's drawn his support and his grace and his help from beyond in the astral world and the help of others. So again, this is cooperating with divine grace, is what he called it.
Okay, maybe we can take Pradnya Kulkarni's last question and then pause. Pradnya, do you want to say?
Yeah, Devashiji, I have a question that do you think of spreading Kriya classes in Indian language outside India?
Huh. I think with the online we are, because there are actually people in the US who want to learn in Hindi. And so our Hindi Sangha does have students, I think, online students from even the US, maybe even from the UK, who want to learn in Hindi language. In person, I don't know that we're doing it much because in other countries, other languages are spoken, but online is definitely happening actually. So, yeah. I think you all know Prajna is a Pune person for many years, and that's just always a joy. Now she's living in Cincinnati.
And I have a few Marathi friends here, Devarshiji.
Oh my
and
gosh.
they are onto Kriya path and they are Marathi speaking. So,
oh my gosh. Talk about magnetism. In Cincinnati. I grew up in that middle part of the United States, so I know how seemingly remote from the bigger world, a very traditional kind of a place. So it warms my heart. A lot of my grandparents in that generation actually come from that same region where Pradnya is. So I know that place. And now there are Marathi speaking Kriyavans there. Too much joy.
Okay, well, thank you again, Devarshiji. It was
Okay.
joy to be with you, and we hope to do this again sometime with you.
Yes, please. What a joy, and we'll see you again. And put these things into action. That's the whole idea.
We shall.
Okay. All right. Om Guru.
Go.
Went for Swamiji's. Okay. So, other people? Okay. So 10th of May, we will have a special satsang celebrating Sri Yukteswar's birth anniversary here. Same time in the evening, 6 to 7. It could go longer. And 19th May is Swami Kriyananda's 100th birth anniversary. We will celebrate here in special way. So that timing we will share in the group, but keep that day free so that we all can be together celebrating his life and celebrate in a special way here in the center. Apart from that, I think these are the two most important events this month. Okay, thank you.